Hello, everyone. This is Justin Roberti with Benzinga, and welcome to Crypto Unlocked, our second edition, featuring discussions of global use cases and practical use cases, global off ramps for USDT worldwide. We've got Tron with us. We've got a recorded interview with Justin Sun as our keynote, and it's going to be an exciting show. Hi, Jose. Very good to have you with us here today. How you doing, man?
Hello, welcome Justin, welcome everyone. This is Jay Rod, Director of Crypto at Benzinga, and I'm so thrilled to be here today. We have such a wonderful panel. This is the second episode of Crypto Unlocked, and we're ready to go. And I'm so excited. We have a lot of things to talk today. We have a Tron panel, we have a bit of Bitcoin. Maybe we can speak a bit about the meme coin frenzy if we have time.
Mhm.
So
Right.
there's a lot of things to talk about, and the crypto space is moving forward as usual. We never sleep, 24/7, 7 days of the week, every day of the year.
Jose in particular never sleeps. He's always working on this stuff, and we thank him for that. In the meantime, yeah, as Jose mentioned, we're going to be talking a little bit about the chances of a Bitcoin summer after this chilly crypto winter. We're also going to be talking a little bit about stable coins versus security tokens, and we've got great projects coming on with us for all of those things. But in the meantime, I got a chance to talk to Justin's son about the prevalence of Tron network being used for USDT. It turns out that Tron is actually the number one network for using USDT, which I didn't
If,
really know before they shared that data with me. So that's pretty impressive.
yeah, if you trade USDT, most certain you are using TRC20. When you try to
Mm-hmm.
use ERC20, the fees are mad high. So
Mm-hmm.
it actually, we were discussing last panel how TRC20 network actually solves the lives and is one of the paths for a lot of people to have their own salaries, to send money to their families. So it has like a real impact on life.
Right.
And that's the true meaning of crypto, I believe. Like not all speculation, not casino, no gambling, but actually solving people's lives, creating bridges, solving people's issues. So I think that TRC20 is a network that actually does that on a really impactful way. It did for me since I was really young, and it's for a lot of people all around the world. So it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to have Justin listen from him, and I'm ready to go. I'm so excited. I really want to see the interview.
Yeah, I think it's really important that for people to look at crypto as a global phenomenon and what it's doing for people around the world who don't have access necessarily to a stable fiat currency and don't necessarily have access to adequate banking or any banking. And that's where it really comes in. So that's what Justin and I talk about. Let me go ahead and bring that video up, and we'll go
Please.
ahead. We did this pre-recorded because otherwise it would have been 1 o'clock in the morning for Justin's son. So I talked to him about an hour ago. Very exciting opportunity. Everyone.
So
This
excited.
is Justin Roberti with Benzinga, writer and producer. I'm here with the great Justin Sun, founder of Tron, founder of BitTorrent, very much a known figure and leader within the Web3 space. Justin, it's an honor to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Justin.
So I wanted to ask, I've noticed from the data that Tron shared with me that for the past several months at least, Tron has really been the primary network for USDT usage, which is really interesting because that's where people are actually using it on a practical day-to-day basis as a currency. Is this an important phenomenon within the crypto space? What does it mean to you to have Tron be the number one used network for USDT?
Yes. First of all, I think people in the United States don't really like notice actually, for most of the country in the world, it's very hard to get access to US dollars in the first place. So that's why, USDC are super common in United States because you can use bank as a fiat on-ramp and off-ramp to get access to USDC. But for people outside of US, basically 90% of them don't even have US bank account in the first place. So that's why I believe USDT on Tron provide them with a very precious opportunity. They can actually get access to US dollars in the first place. For example, people in Vietnam, people in Malaysia, people in Africa, South America, it's a very good way for them to actually get access to US dollars without holding a US bank account. Because most of the people in those developing countries, they don't even have big US banks, right? Open branches there. So the majority of the solution is hold their local currency. But for the local currency, as we all know, the value goes down like dramatically, right? So that's why I think USDT and Tron even become like an alternative for them to storage their value. And also, of course, they can make payment. This is a perfect global payment network. Everyone is using. So currently, I think yesterday, our transaction volume is about 14 billion US dollars per day. Since the inception of the network, we have done $7 trillion worth of transaction, which is big. And today, our daily active users is around 2.5 million to 3 million users, with around 9 to 10 million transaction per day. So it is very active, increase about like 30% compared to Q4 last year. So we believe it's gonna continue to grow since more and more people has this kind of the demand, especially outside of the United States. So definitely we will continue to work on to drive the usage and to provide Web3 and blockchain as one of the most important infrastructure globally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild. That is a crazy amount of transactions on the network and very impressive. What does it mean to these global users who are using it at, because they don't have access to necessarily a stable fiat currency, which is something that's very easy to take for granted here in the U.S., even though inflation is kind of a problem right now. We have a fairly stable fiat currency. To people who don't have access, the underbanked or the unbanked, what does it mean to them to be able to use USDT on a global basis like that?
Yes. First of all, I believe the beauty of blockchain is to open. You can get actually an account for free, and without basically any banking resources. You can get an account. So for most of the we know lots of failure states and also poverty actually is not created by basically lack of food or lack of water. I think the loss of the poverty actually caused by lack of financial services. For example, for people in Africa, one of the biggest pain point for them to preserve their wealth is there is no way for them to storage their value, right? Even for example, they farm and they store anything, but they can't get access to bank account. They can get robbed overnight, and there's no banks to hold those values. And also of course, the cost of open banks in those regions is big. So that's why there's even Citibank, SHBC, Bank of America, nobody even bothered to open banks in developing states. Mm-hmm. But actually, blockchain provide them with a fabulous solution. They can get whatever bank accounts they want, basically accounts, right? They want on blockchain with basically zero cost, and they can use this account to receive money, store value, and also no one in the world even know they have money in those accounts, right? Because blockchain is also anonymous. So that's why I think in lots of the developing states, people starting to get access to financial services, which I think is extremely important because those countries don't even have the capability to get access to financial services. Financial services is very common in US, right? Everybody has banks, has bank account, has credit card. But actually, even in China, for example, only I think less than 10% of the people has credit card actually. So that's why I believe blockchain become like one of the most important infrastructure, just like gas, just like water, like everybody can use every day without a very big cost. Because we all know, like the valuation of all the financial institutions is big, right? They spend trillions of dollars like every year to build a branch, to build a financial system. But blockchain and Web3 actually bring down all the costs, right? So basically every day right now for the Tron network users, they spend $0 on getting accounts and spend only like 20 cents, like 15 cents on each transaction, which is also a big advantage for those people. So that's why I always believe stablecoin, especially US stablecoin, actually has the biggest use case actually outside of US. Because in US, like everybody has ACH, right? Everybody have bank accounts in Wells Fargo, like Bank of America. So it's not like must for them. But for people in the developing states, getting accounts for free and feel free to use US dollars actually is a very big benefit.
No, that absolutely. What are people? I know that Tron is looking at sort of a global picture in terms of the usefulness of blockchain and of cryptocurrencies. And you've always been a leader in the Web3 space that has a very clear vision and a lot to say about it. What would you say to people who don't see it as a global vision, who are frankly a little bit Silicon Valley focused? Is it possible to look at the big picture while being that focused on what's going on in California? It seems limiting.
Yes.
What would be the vision as you would describe it? What is the future that you're working toward with Tron?
Yes, I think for Tron, definitely we have a global version, right? So we take all the countries as same, right? Because I believe since Tron is and Huobi is all infrastructure provider, right? So we believe like financial services and the blockchain services is something everyone will need in the future. It's just like gas, like water, is basic need for human beings, right? So that's why we want to develop the cheap solution, cheap and sufficient solution, and provide to everyone in the world with this kind of the solution. Actually, I born in China, and in my 20s, I moved to United States, and I started my first company also in Silicon Valley in California. But I mean, recently, right, since we have seen this kind of the narrow mindset in United States, SEC suing lots of entrepreneurs and try to keep like crypto out of United States. And lots of people are thinking, right, crypto bring lots of risk to United States, and also they don't care about what happened outside of US. That's like something I think they are going to a wrong path actually, right? So going to a wrong path in the history. Actually, if we see like how United States succeed to be the #1 country in the world, is because like US cares about like everything happen globally and wants to like help people globally, and also at the same time US develop the best solution and offer to everybody in the world, right? Not even talk to like high technology which we use every day. Even like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, it is like this is even food, right? So we can promote like globally. So that's why right now I still want to become like one of the bridge to bridge basically the best technology in Silicon Valley and with all the developing states in the world, because I believe this is also one of the biggest advantage and mission we need to do to benefit everyone in the world with Web3 and blockchain.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking about global use cases today with Tron later on in the panel here on Crypto Unlocked. We really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us and discuss these topics. We hope that you come back again. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, Justin. Yeah. Well, that was fantastic. Hi, how you doing, Jose? Good to be back again.
That was nice. That was really nice.
Yeah, it was very nice of Justin to take the time to talk to us. It's great to hear what such a visible leader in the Web3 space has to say really about global use cases and the idea that, you know, it can't be all about people in Silicon Valley creating solutions to help other people in Silicon Valley. So that's kind of a running theme as we talk about this. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and move on to our panel of stablecoins versus security tokens. So let me go ahead and add our various guests to the stream right now, and we will we'll get this going.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. Why don't we go ahead and go down the row, and we've got Kyle, Herwig, Bob, and Zachary. Do we have everyone on this stream right now? Kyle, Herwig, Bob. Yes, we do. Okay, guys.
Yeah, you got me here.
You know, fantastic. Why don't Bob? Why don't we start with you and just tell us a little bit about what you do and your association with security tokens.
Yep. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Hello to my co-panelists. So I'm the VP of Capital Markets at INX. INX is a public company that runs a ATS for trading of secondary security tokens. We're a broker dealer that facilitates capital raises, working with companies across different industry verticals to help them raise capital through retail, through SEC reg filing exemptions. The company is about five years old. The first 3 years were spent literally working with the SEC on getting the first ever blockchain IPO approved. And once that got approved, we then raised $85 million from 7,200 retail investors in 64 countries around the world, which was mega. And just to the topic of the stable coins, out of that $86 million that was raised, about 22% actually came in via stablecoin. But more on that in a second. So we took the capital we raised, acquired a whole bunch of licenses, money transmitter licenses, the FINRA license, ATS, and so on and so forth, a transfer agent license, broker dealer license. And then we built INX One, which is a platform that facilitates listing and trading of security tokens. It has a marketplace where companies can raise capital, and it has a licensed crypto exchange. And that went live about 6 months ago. We now have about 5 companies raising capital on INX, with a 6th company due to go live within a few weeks, and many more in the pipeline.
Fantastic. Let's go ahead and take the same question over to Kyle from STO Market. Just briefly introduce yourself and the projects, and then we'll get into questions.
Yeah, hey everybody. Thanks, Justin, for hosting, and Benzinga for having me. It's good to see you all. I've spoken with maybe some of you before, but my name is Kyle Sonlin. I run Security Token Market, STM.co, and we're the Bloomberg of the tokenized securities industry. So we track all of the assets moving around on secondary markets. These are equities, real estate. There's some debt that we're tracking institutionally from some of the larger investment banks, and trying to create that centralized repository, not only for the data and what's going on, but also for research, for media, a lot of great content. We do a ton of that great stuff. Unfortunately, a co-founder and my business partner Herwig is also here on the panel, so he's doing some amazing things. And we've been tracking the security token space for quite some time, with the site kind of going live back in 2018. So we've seen a lot happen in the industry since then. I'll pass it over to Herwig though if you want to add to that.
Go ahead, Herwig. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Happy to be here, and thank you for hosting this. I think it's a great series, Crypto Unlocked. Co-founder with Kyle of Security Token Market. Before that, it's worth mentioning that also I'm the founder of InvestReady, an accreditation software company, so I have a great understanding of the compliance, which is how I got into this whole space. We're actually pretty well known also for advising a lot of the issuers and investment banks and asset managers through security token advisors as well. Can't wait to get into this topic. Know a few of the faces on here already. Excited to dive in.
Fantastic. And Zachary, let me go ahead and take over to you as well. Just briefly introduce yourself and your company. We'll jump on in after that.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Zachary Friedman. Great to be here with you all today, talking about a really exciting subject. I am the co-founder of two different companies in the digital asset space and have been operating here for about 7 years. The first of which, Secure Digital Markets, is a leading digital asset brokerage. We help support, over 500 institutional clients really to access liquidity in the digital asset space, as well as a series of different financial instruments from lending to derivatives to spot trading. I'm also the co-founder of GDA Capital, which is a, digital first financial services merchant bank. We similarly help clients with advisory, cap raising efforts, listing tokens. We're doing a lot of R&D in the security token space. I believe that it, is going to represent a large part of the next inflow of capital in the next, bull market and wave to come. So it's an increasing focus of ours under the firm and under the umbrella. Have not been, operating in the space as long as these guys, but obviously following it, very closely, and being crypto native, it's, a large part of the conversation since we all really stepped foot into the industry, I'm sure. So excited to be here and chatting with you all.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor having all of you guys here. So I think we can start, and maybe any of you guys can take this question. How do you think that the security tokens will fit in the changing regulation in the US at the moment?
I'm happy to take that one.
Of course.
I think the security tokens, which represent an underlying real world value, tangible or not, is a digital representation of a security that is defined and has been defined for years, for decades. And the way investors can learn about securities and investment opportunities through a PPM, a private placement memorandum, and they can read and look at risks and attestations and things like that. These have been defined, these ways of allowing investors engage in these opportunities have been defined since, the acts of 1933 and 1940. And, so there isn't anything particularly novel about the security token when it comes to the regulation and the regulatory side. If anything, there are some streamlining of processes. There are some cost savings that the companies involved and the players involved can achieve. But from a regulatory standpoint, specifically around protecting investors, which I think is the most important point, there isn't that much different from the digital security, the security token, and the traditional security.
I'm happy to follow on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think Bob did a great job explaining that. At the end of the day, the U.S. markets aren't necessarily constrained by anything. That's why we've got a multi-billion-dollar market, hundreds of security tokens already trading. But what we've seen globally is some stuff that we'd like to see happen here in the United States. For example, we see right now a security token, is essentially a blockchain-based receipt of your share that you own, right? But however, regulation prevents us from, say, natively tracking that on chain. So many times if there's a transfer agent or something else involved, they're still using a traditional means. In other countries, they've actually defined security tokens so that you can natively track securities on a central ledger that is actually blockchain based. As well as, you've seen the MiCA Act over in Europe. That's actually also got a lot of great features that we'd also like to see covered here.
Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and take this to you, Zachary. It seems like security tokens are an attempt to, bring something more traditional finance instruments more directly into the blockchain space. As Bob had mentioned, the first ICO or IPO. It seems like it's a crossover in some ways between traditional finance and Web3. Is this are we bringing a new asset class to bear here, or are we just presenting a traditional asset class in a digital way?
Yeah, I think that it's obvious that there are certain clear advantages to bring security tokens to market. They do, really represent ownership in real world assets, stocks, bonds, or real estate. In addition to what was mentioned prior, that should be and will be subject to securities regulations in a similar way. But there's enhanced features. It is a modern approach. It's a technology first approach, provides more liquidity, reduces transaction costs, permits more fractionalized ownership, speed, more access. So, really we're looking at a natural evolution of securities instruments leveraging modern technology. And I think that's the way that, if you look at any survey data, people expect that 10% of GDP will come from securitized tokens and different instruments as time goes on. And I think that the trend is going to increase due to those, feature sets and the benefits.
What about you, Kyle? Do you see this as a greater partnership or partnership might be a funny word with the current climate, but is it a greater cooperation between traditional finance and Web3 that we're trying to accomplish here by bringing these assets essentially on blockchain?
Yeah, I think that's the reality here, because when you look at blockchain technology consistently, time and time again, a lot of the naysayers, rightfully so, have said, where is the killer use case for this technology? What is it actually doing? Aside from what we see in a lot of cases, as you mentioned, the new asset classes, right? The digital assets that are, investments because it's digital art or whatever, right? These are great. These are all speculative assets. And that's not even a term that should be used necessarily negatively in connotation. But just as an investment asset is not a true application of the technology. And so from my perspective, this is about optimizing the existing capital markets that have hundreds of trillions of dollars. And if you can reduce the fees and expenses as well as the time that's required to actually create these types of structured products, even by 5-10%, you're going to see such a drastic improvement in the actual underlying economics. So really, I do believe that the banks and these individuals that are already tokenizing, they're taking billions of dollars of debt and using blockchain technology to essentially automate what traditionally they would need to have tens of thousands of employees to do. And so automating financial products, really tough to do if we don't have data that we can trust. And in this case, that's where the blockchain is really, really valuable.
So you guys think this is about connecting more tangible value to crypto, or is there other things going on the back end?
We all may have different perspectives there. I can lead it off by saying I think that has nothing to do with crypto. I think that crypto assets, potentially the technology, helped prove why maybe stablecoins are useful, helped prove why digital settlement is valuable. But I think that this has nothing to do with those underlying assets, because of the fact that this is really about improving the traditional asset classes that exist and making them more accessible, whether that means reducing investment minimums, allowing more people to participate in what are real assets that are real ownership in businesses, or real cash flow of businesses, or real estate or any of these types of things, even if you're talking about art, at least own the equity or the IP rights or the licensing rights and everything alongside it, as opposed to something that is not that and is not represented as such in the eyes of the law, which is really what it comes down to, right? Everything looks great in a bull market because no one's having any issues. But the reason why our capital markets are so complex is really to protect on the downside that when things go bad, we have a trail of accountability alongside who is responsible for these different pieces of the puzzle and who is of ownership of those different assets that are created by those things. I think that process needs to be recreated in the digital space, but I don't think that it has a lot to do with crypto.
I would agree with what you said there, Kyle, and I'll come from a different angle. 2 years ago during the bull run, there was this general kind of consensus that, is crypto gonna survive? Is it really here to stay? And a lot of the kind of agreement was when the big institutions, come in, that's when we know this is for real, right? So where are the big institutions making these statements now? Look at what BlackRock, Larry Fink said, 2 months ago. Look at what Citigroup said about a month ago. Bank of America. Look at what Siemens in Germany just did 2 months ago with a corporate bond on the blockchain. Look at HSBC and Northern Trust in the report that they put out recently, and a plethora of many more major serious players. I mean, look at what happened yesterday with the private blockchain announcement. Microsoft and JP Morgan, some of these heavy hitters, called Canton. So the writing is on the wall. It's in neon letters. It isn't like you have to kind of dig deep to try and figure out if the use case for crypto has been found, because it has been, and it is the tokenization of assets that have long existed in traditional finance, in capital markets, private markets, equity, you name it. And to give you an example of something that INX did recently, so we can actually look at a tangible example, there's a company raising capital right now in the security token offering on our platform. They're called TruckPal, and they're a freight logistics play. They have turned cash flow positive, and they announced a dividend to the investors that had invested at the time of the announcement. And it was the dividend distribution for this client of mine was as simple as them sending the amount to be distributed in USDC to a digital wallet that I designated. And from there, the funds were distributed to the digital wallets of those investors. And that was it. There's a document signed between us and them, but that's the ease at which companies can do dividend distributions in a Web3 arena. So, the use cases are very clear. We don't have to think them up. There's definitely many more that we're going to come to, but that's just one exciting one. So, as I said, the writing's on the wall. It's bright neon lettering, and this is the killer use case, as Kyle said. And I think, Kyle, you probably got that phrase from Citigroup because that was in their report, right? Killer use case of crypto is token of real world assets. And look, Citigroup and these large institutes, they don't typically use that kind of language, right? So it was really exciting to see them do that.
Yeah, I'd love to just hop in just on something real quick that I think is worth sharing, is that I do think there is a world where they're in parallel, right? We can't just not acknowledge the entire crypto asset world that's happening. And I'd like to use the scenario of Celsius. I think as soon as the crypto industry starts to acknowledge more that security tokens represents a different stack within the economy system, where in the event of Celsius, they're now issuing security tokens to the debt holders, right? It's the idea that you can now tie economic interest in the foundation or the technology company or whatever is really behind the crypto project. That is a whole new dichotomy that can be added, where it's going to be very interesting that you can be exposed to the crypto token, but also to the security token behind the crypto technology. And I think that's going to be a fundamental shift that's going to happen more and more in the future.
What do you think, Zachary?
I tend to agree. I think that it is, it's also fortunate that we have some great panelists here that are helping to work to kind of demystify, provide education and support around this. Our goal as an organization is to really help bridge the gap and help investors understand and access the right technologies to access these instruments, which we're continuing to do. And it's the panelists kind of talked about most of the subjects, and I tend to agree.
Okay. Well, of course, we use the word crypto coming in and everyone objected, but, this is still being presented to a Web3 audience. So really, let's break it down we've got projects listening. We've obviously got a lot of avid supporters of Euclid and of Tron, because we've heard them buzzing in the comments. But we've also got lots of retail investors tuning in. Let's break it down for what this means for them. Where is the opportunity? Where could Bob, I believe, said something in passing about this creates a new opportunities, not only to work with these kinds of assets more efficiently by putting them on blockchain, but people want in. I mean, that's part of what the whole blockchain ethos is about. People want to be part of it. And I think it's a positive. It's a positive transformation in a lot of ways. People all over the world taking more of an active role in investing. So, give us a handhold here, Kyle. If we think that this is an asset class, that if it is an asset class that retail investors can participate in, how do they begin? What's something to look at? What do we get hyped about?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a from a theoretical perspective, there's the excitement behind what this stuff is, and to Herwig's point, is I think a clear difference between crypto and the securities. An easy example that we like to use all the time in the office is if you could invest in the foundation of your favorite blockchain and own the rights and revenue streams that are created by the private company that's probably raised a lot of venture capital and has probably built a lot of interesting IP, or invest in the underlying commodity of the blockchain, you probably would want to have different allocations of those things. And you may want to own some ownership and stock of the company that creates your favorite technology, and maybe you want to own some of the underlying protocol tokens and those types of things as well, which again are exciting, but it's a very different investment proposition. So I think that where people are looking right now is for those earlier businesses that are creating technology, that are building really impactful things, and you get to actually own the company's shares as opposed to having to participate in the kind of adjacent crypto economy and maybe buy some of the supporting materials behind it. I know that we did a crowdfund that we worked with a bunch of our audience and helped them understand what's going on in the security token space. And that allowed them to directly participate in this industry alongside us in a way that's very different than crypto. I know INX is building some amazing things. They've got a lot of tremendous opportunities. There's even real estate companies like Realty that have issued hundreds of real estate properties across Detroit, across New York, and across all types of places in the US that have allowed international investors to buy into real estate here and actually get 10-12% paid out in stable coins into their wallets that are actually yielding assets. And that's not a staking protocol that could get hacked and your stuff stolen. That's a real estate property that's netting the same kind of staking rewards you might see from a crypto program, with much different downside protections, because you're talking about things that are backed by real assets. So I think that that's kind of the perspective shift that we've started to see. And I mean, now there's billions of dollars of different assets. You've got marketplaces all around the world. If you're US focused, it's definitely, I think we've seen a big evolution of regulated marketplaces, but I think that there's a little bit more friction than internationally. We see internationally, there's even assets moving around on Uniswap and other crypto platforms that do have these securities, as long as you're on a whitelisted process, you're taking the rights and compliance measures you need to, but owning early stage companies, participating in real estate, I think that there are some really cool opportunities that don't exist on Robinhood, they don't exist in the crypto markets, and are available today.
Excellent. Bob, kind of the same question. If people are coming at this from a Web3 point of view, finding out about these assets and the opportunities around them, because they're coming on blockchain. If a retail investor wants to get involved, where do they start? What should they be looking at?
First of all, Web3 retail. When you look at the raises that are happening on INX, they couldn't be more diverse. So very recently, I think 2.5, 3 weeks ago, a metaverse play, a company that's basically building out metaverse fan engagement, sports programs within the metaverse, building a very strong client base, including a famous football club in the USA, and working with many others. That went live. The raise is live, and the opportunities that the metaverse brings, where you have a security token that sits in a wallet, and you basically log onto a metaverse, and you can show that I'm a holder of these security tokens, and suddenly you get access to all kinds of virtual experiences. That's just one industry vertical that has looked at tokenization and said, we want to basically tokenize what we're doing. There's a Bitcoin miner that's coming onto the exchange, onto our platform in a few weeks. People have wanted to invest in Bitcoin in a regulatory compliant manner. The ETF story, we know where that's gone, right? And how that's been dragging. So here's a way to own a security token that represents, equity in a Bitcoin mining operation and get paid out on a monthly basis in Bitcoin directly into your wallet. So there's a plethora of opportunities. The simplest way, and obviously I'm going to toot my own horn here, is and promote our platform, is go onto inx.co, join our community. Telegram. It's a very exciting community. There's, accredited investors in there. There's your kind of, fanboy in there, and everyone's really sharing information and understanding where this space is growing. And I would say, looking at INX itself, a simple way to put our vision is to say we want to become NASDAQ 2.0, right? We want to be this this marketplace where you can log on and you can search by the types of investments you're looking for, ESG investments, Web3 investments, real estate, and so on and so on. You can have a plethora of exciting projects to invest in and have either equity or dividend distributions, even debt instruments. If you look at the global space of trade finance, supply chain, equipment leasing, this is a $1 trillion space where typically it's the huge banks that are financing these invoices and the whole invoice refactoring space. And there's a way to tokenize this and make it accessible to retail and basically have, 6-7% type yield, and if you look at the language people use now, they call it real yield, right? As if the yield we had in during the DeFi summer up until now was like, fake yield. Well, it kind of was, right?
We could talk about that. That'd be a separate panel.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So in summary, look at the way the market's evolving. Look at how you had, privacy coins in 2017. Then you had DeFi summer, and then suddenly you had NFT craze. And OpenSea was in business for 3 years, and no one knew what that was. And then suddenly they were doing more volume than Uniswap because NFTs became the next big thing. And what we're, I think, probably all agreeing here is, and with the backing of the major players, the large global institutions and Wall Street and Main Street, is that, tokenization is the next, or at least one of the next big verticals to, and so if that's what the next bear market is going to look like, then I would say to all the listeners, you don't want to miss out. You don't want to start learning about this stuff when it's already kicking in. Like, people look back at Aave, Compound, some of these DeFi protocols, and they're like, if only I got into this stuff back in, summer of 2020 and not in 2021. So now's the time. Go into inx.co, join our Telegram, ask the questions you need to ask, look at the asset, look at the raises that are happening on the platform, and really educate yourself. And take a look at the INX token itself. We have a native token of our platform, which basically represents, future cash, a share of future profits of our company. So lots of opportunities. And yeah, we welcome everyone who's looking to, and get in touch with me as well. Hit me up on LinkedIn. More than happy to speak to anyone, and whether it's B2B or B2C.
Okay, fantastic. Herwig, is that what's happening here? Is this a democratization of access to these markets essentially? Is that how you would position this?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one angle. We're going to see this democratization of all finance, and we're going to see it in one, you get direct access now. Never before could you invest in an Andy Warhol, and now it's being tokenized by a company called Freeport that's open to all retail investors, right? That's never before possible. You're going to see it also on the back end via Wall Street. You're going to see these major banks and these major players say, hey, we now see the potential of accessing retail markets in a digital way, of distributing these products in a digital manner. I mean, it's 0 to 1. We like to say they're more efficient, but it really is. Once you go onto a security token, we speak to these investment banks, asset managers, issuers directly, and they're like, there's no going back because it's so easy, to Bob's earlier example. And it's the same deal for investors. To be able to manage your stocks, to be able to manage all of your traditional assets in a digital way means there will be lending options and collateralization and all kinds of other kind of mechanics that we see in the crypto world also come to security tokens because they lead that technology. So yeah, I think you're going to see all kinds of new asset classes that are going to become marketed and available to anybody, or at least traditional retail investors, and they won't necessarily have to go through too many hoops in order to actually make that investment, which was traditionally the issue.
And do you guys think inflation is playing a major role on getting retail investors looking for different opportunities to put their money to save inflation?
I think that's definitely a factor affecting this year. To Herwig's point, there's a lot of feature benefits outside of just increased access, increased transparency. There is lower cost to our retail investors. As the platforms continue to mature, the way that instruments are structured right now and that they're going to be continued to structure, they offer more enhanced product offerings, but lower costs, which obviously helps against what we're seeing in the market. So it's going to continue to drive people to the superior method and product. And, once they're familiarized with, this marketplace, it's going to be hard for them to leave. It just gives them better access, cheaper access, better diversification, lower cost and fees. There's really enhancement across all the major categories in their investment kind of spectrum.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's really important, especially if you're a crypto investor and you have no interest maybe in participating in the security token space, if you're invested in a blockchain, if you think that your blockchain offers the best support and solutions, like this is where a ton of the demand for blockchain technology is going to continue to come from. And all of these banks, all of these institutions are working with a lot of different blockchains. We have just put out research that there's 13, 14 different blockchains that are working with different investment banks that are creating all types of different products on top of the chains. So all of this is going to be relevant for the crypto industry that have to power these underlying things. There's a lot of mechanics behind the tokenomics that are going to be affected by increased adoption. So there should be no doubt about it that if you're an avid supporter of a blockchain and you think that your blockchain is actively adding value to asset transfer, you should be working to demand that institutions get on board and learn how to use it and understand what's going on. Demand that the foundation continues to empower grants and funding programs and research into what's going on in Wall Street, because these companies are doing it and they're using private Ethereum chains, or they're using Polygon, or they're using whichever chains that they need to use, which again totally affects the underlying tokenomics. So I think that this does have a ton of effect on the greater crypto industry as more investment style of assets and real Wall Street quality assets become to come to the blockchain. So I think that that's kind of another side piece of this.
And for the audience who's listening this for the first time, where can they find these kind of security tokens? Where they can expect to trade and to gain access to these kind of tokens?
The best place to do your research certainly is stm.co, which is our website. We track everything. You can't invest through our website, so there's no investing there. It's more about getting to know the underlying and fundamental education of what's going on and tracking the markets. But I'm sure that Bob can tell you a little bit more about actually the investment process.
So I most mornings when I get in, I actually go to to you guys, stm.co, and I'm like, hey, let's see what's going on in the tokenization space, right? It's a great place that you guys have built, to kind of aggregate, create an aggregated view of what's happening in the market. So that's great. And we need all these partners like, you guys and Zachary, and, we truly want this space to thrive. And so whatever everyone's doing out there, we're very supportive of that. And you guys are doing a great job. So it really is, straightforward as onboarding onto a platform, like you would have done with, you know, your crypto exchanges or your broker. It's, you know, going onto, for example, inx.co and signing up, and there's a quick sign up process, you know, the usual run of the mill stuff, you know, ID and so on. And we can accept customer investors from 60 countries around the world for securities, and even more for the crypto side. And our crypto and our securities platforms are actually interlinked, so that you can liquidate crypto for fiat and hit a transfer button and move the fiat over to the security side. So it's a whole ecosystem, and that's for the retail investor. So it's a low barrier to signing up. We use state-of-the-art fraud detection software and solutions, very mature, you know, back office behind the scenes. And for the institutional side, it's, you know, fill out our inquiry form. You know, you probably come speak to me or someone on my team, and we'll talk about the process of actually bringing your capital raise, you know, to the market as a security token offering. So it isn't rocket science. It isn't crazy. You just, you know, have to make that first step. And I think, you know, looking at platforms that are displayed, you know, through stm.co.com or coming to INX, you know, you kind of get a very quick understanding of what's out there and what's available.
Let's go ahead and take the same question to Zachary. Zachary, if people are looking to get involved in this in some way, obviously hasn't been a wonderful time for crypto over the past little while. People are looking for new opportunities with this digital asset class, or this emerging digitized asset class. You know, where is the best place to start with kind of getting your hands around these opportunities?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to detract from my panelists. They really cover fantastic niches in the industry, both from a you know, platform perspective and an education perspective. You know, there's obviously a lot of different emerging news sources and hubs, but if you can rely on one platform for a steady stream of information that's, you know, reliable and you know, presenting up-to-date info, then I would really stick to that instead of kind of mystifying what could be a simple process. There's obviously some emerging platforms with interesting instruments across the industry. Those are you know, depends on your jurisdiction, regulation, what type of assets you're looking at. It is a you know, newly emerging market, so there are various platforms for people to look at to get access and exposure. But you know, we happen to have some fantastic panelists here that are you know, providing great access. So,
well, fantastic. I think that pretty much wraps it up on my side. J-Rod, what do you think?
Super enriching. Now I want to dive in and learn more, actually. So from an education side for STM, we would love to publish an article of you guys as contributors, maybe explaining to our audience a bit more in depth and how they can access these new opportunities for retail and also big investors. So yeah, it's super interesting panel. I'm not an expert here, so I'm learning as all of the audience, and it's actually really impressive. It's interesting, and I'm really thankful for you guys sharing all your knowledge on this really tokens trend or actually investments. And again, I'm really thankful for you guys.
All right, we're getting requests to post the site, so it would be good to maybe post some of the links as well. We'll put that in the description. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to explore here, and there's a lot of you can see there's a lot of emerging opportunity. In some ways, it's the story of you know, retail investors becoming more empowered and having more opportunities to be involved in a wider range of asset classes. So, you know, that's kind of a good thing. If you start out with Bitcoin or Doge, and then move on to investing in more IRL kind of assets, that's sort of a good thing. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming today.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Zach. Thank Kyle. Thank you, Bob. That was great. Very interesting. Definitely, I'm learning a lot out of that, J-Rod.
Yeah, me too. I learned a lot. And it's interesting. Now to the topic that maybe I'm more used to. Now we're going to speak a bit about Bitcoin and everything that's going on. We have a few big guests, and maybe we can start introduce them one by one. Should we bring them on? Are you guys ready?
Let's just go ahead and bring them on. I think we just throw them in there. There we go.
Let's present. Let's give a round of presentations. Maybe first, let me tune this, give them the correct placing. Okay. So let's start with Nick D'Amico, VP of Bit Patagonia, also founder of Jinka, a super interesting startup. Hello, Nick. Welcome. Would like to give us some background?
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you very much for having me. Like J-Rod said, I'm Nick from Bit Patagonia and the founder of Jinka. I've been in the digital asset and crypto space since 2014. So I've had my ups and downs and learning from that.
Nice. Welcome.
Perfect.
Well, we also have Pauline Shanget, CMO of Crypto Wallet. Welcome, Pauline. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having me, Justin and J-Rod. Super interesting panel, by the way. Big cheers to everyone who was on before us. So again, my name is Pauline. I work at Crypto Wallet at the moment. I've been in digital space since 2018. I actually joined the space like a few months before the big crypto winter of 2018 when Bitcoin Cash forked and everything just sort of collapsed within hours. So you could say I've been through the ups and downs of the crypto market. So excited to be here, excited to chat with my fellow panelists. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Pauline. Also, let me present to you Clem Chambers, a friend of the house already. Welcome, Clem.
I'm a big guest, am I?
Yes, you are. You're a friend of Benzinga's and a regular haunting our Twitter spaces with your impression.
Too much coronation chicken. That's what it's doing there. so anyway, I'm CEO of Online Blockchain, which is one of the pioneering blockchain listed companies in the UK. A long time ago in a galaxy far away, I used to write the money column for Wired magazine. These days I write for Forbes, or rather have for the last 20 years actually, and also columns for Seeking Alpha and for the Institute of Engineering Technology. And I write a lot on blockchain. Sometimes I'm a fan, sometimes I'm a cynic, and my heart's not in it. And so yeah, I'm here to blow raspberries at everybody.
Welcome, Clem. Also, we have Hub House, co-founder of Peer Protocol. Welcome, Hub.
Hey guys, how are you all?
All good. Do you want to share some of your background?
For sure. So I'm co-founder of Pair Protocol. We run a decentralized exchange on Arbitrum where investors can pair trade, so they can be long, let's say, Bitcoin and short ETH, all in one trade. I'm also head of a on-chain hedge fund, and my background is in investment banking. I was an equity derivatives trader for 10 years.
Perfect. Welcome. Are we ready to go, Justin?
Absolutely, man. We're always ready for a Bitcoin discussion. It always generates some interest. We've had some recent positive news around Bitcoin and Ethereum. People have speculated whether we might reach 60K by the end of the summer, and then by extension, is this a sign of a thaw in our crypto winter? So what's the deal, Pauline? Are we kind of getting out of these doldrums that we've been in the past 12 months or so?
Well, I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a skeptic here, so I'm going to be a bit of a downer possibly in this discussion to keep things interesting.
Okay.
So I have seen, like, over the past few years, I have seen Bitcoin, just going on wild rides in the summer, but those have been nothing compared to what usually happens closer to the end of the year. So usually the biggest pumps and like the biggest movement in the market usually happens, at least in my experience, in November to December, when people are getting their quarterly bonuses, yearly bonuses, and they are super eager to pump the ball into crypto, and all the institutional players are kind of waking up on the market. In my opinion, what is going to happen this year and this summer in particular is the explosion of altcoins. We've already seen meme coins kind of doing the rounds over and over again. Same thing happened in the spring and the summer of last year, 2021 and 2022. 2021 had actually been super wild when it came to meme coins. That was the summer when SHIB got on the market and a few other kind of like copycats. And just like 2021 was like the dog summer, I believe 2023 is going to be the frog summer, with the Pepe coin doing like plus 10,000% in the matter of minutes and days, possibly hours. Don't quote me on that though. And
don't
right
worry,
now,
this is just between us and the internet. This is all totally.
Sure. Okay, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed just in case anyone comes at me with a bed press. Anyways, we've seen a lot of froggy copycats going onto the market, and everyone trying to get that piece of the sweet meme coin pie. So I guess Bitcoin is not going to be thawing completely. At least that's my opinion. And we're going to see some altcoin action over the summer, and Bitcoin is going to catch up closer to the end of fall.
Okay, with all this meme coin frenzy, how do you guys think that it affects Bitcoin? Because we have the Ethereum layer getting overpopulated with transactions, a lot of bots, fees mad high. Also, where they're now launching meme coins on the Bitcoin network. So, how do you think this frenzy, this fake summer where everyone is gaining mad high percentages in just a few days, is how this will unfold, and how will this affect Bitcoin?
It's normally the sign of the end of the market run. I mean, you've got to say that Bitcoin's done extremely well. It's doubled. Everyone talks about the crypto winter. Blooming thing's doubled. And everybody was expecting it to go down to 10,000 or even lower. And instead it doubled. But in the past, in these cycles, when you get near the end, all the altcoins go mad. And they go vertical. And they give, Matic was, or Polygon as it is now, was a good example of that last cycle. But it does tend to, in the past, it's indicated the end. Like in an equity market, when all the SPACs are going crazy, it's not long before it's all over for that particular bull run. So personally, I mean, the last time round, I could look at altcoins, or whatever you want to call them, shirt coins, and you could look at those and you could go, well, Matic, Polygon, now that's a great project. Wow, yeah, I'll jump in there at 3 cents and jump out at 17 rather than 240. But there was a reason for them to be investments or even good gambles. But things like Pepe coin, I mean, that's a clear pump and dump. That's a clear sort of thing that you'd get on the pink sheets or the grey sheets or whatever color sheets you used to get on OTC markets. And that had a lot of people ending up going to jail over. So, you look at that and you go, well, it's a straight gamble. It's like betting on drips coming down the window in a rainstorm, or crabs racing, or whatever, synthetic horses. And so it's just gambling. And of course, gambling is very powerful, but it doesn't give sustainability if you're considering these things as assets.
But
because
isn't that
casinos are not assets?
Isn't that gambling perspective, openly gambling speculation, what it's giving value to those tokens?
Well, I mean, obviously, gambling gives lots of value to Las Vegas, which used to be a cow stop in the middle of a desert, is now a huge metropolis. So yes, dopamine is a value add, and humans are addicted to it. But doesn't define a financial asset. It just defines the desire of people dopamine hit by pumping coins into machines. And You know, that isn't what this is all meant to be about, is it? It's meant to be about empowering the poor to get financial freedom. And something like Pepe Coin is going to make a lot of poor people even poorer. And all those people that make 5 million%, are they the pump and dumpers? Are they the promoters of this thing? Are the people that are slipping this out, 50 grand at a time every 2 hours? Are they our friends?
Mm-hmm. So you're not feeling bullish on Pepe, Clem. Am I getting that?
I'm not bullfroggish on Pepe, and I really love it and I'm excited by it. But do I want to give my money to some sharks? No, not especially. Would I love to be buying altcoins that had some meat behind them right now? Yes, I would, because they could run a long way and go up and stay up. They can go from $3 to $1, like ultimately Polygon did. But a pure play gambling, someone built a casino called the Pepe Casino, right? And it's wrecking Ethereum. There's a whole load of good projects that are that you can't use, uneconomical now, because it's $80 for a blooming transaction. And there's a little bit of that going on in Bitcoin at the moment with ordinals, which I love dearly. But that's showing a real Achilles heel for the whole sector, because you shouldn't be able to come up with a good idea and grind the blooming network into pieces. You should be able to cope with that, and it clearly can't. And Mr. Buttering has re-engineered the whole of Ethereum so that transactions could be better, faster, cheaper. And now I'm paying $80 to take my coins out of Compound. I mean, what went wrong?
Are people just dying for a party, Clem? I mean, it's been a long, depressing time. You compare this to 2020, it has been a little bit of a bummer. Everyone wants to dust off their degen caps and just get in there and get excited about something again. That's the impression that I get. What do you think?
Okay. You could look at it like this, right? Once upon a time, there was a stock market. It was in 1650, and they had a bubble and a boom and a bust. And then every 30 years, there was a bubble, boom, and a bust. 1929, Oh, up pop the regulators. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't inside a trade. You AML, KYC, blah blah blah, and then you get SPACs. Nothing changes. People are still do it over and over and over and over again. Doesn't matter how much they regulate it, it still happens. So when you've got something like crypto, which is super friable, super fast, 24 hours a day, global, high leverage, all the bad things that were in equities that have been pretty much banned, there they all are, sat right in the middle of it. So it's not surprising that this stuff goes up like a rocket, down like a rock. But it doesn't mean you should be part of that, mass hysteria if you want to remain wealthy.
You sound pretty upset about that, Clem. My sincere apologies.
I think it's brilliant.
Clem's just passionate.
There's a lot of people that can't afford to lose the money they're going to lose, and they will cry and they will bellyache, and up will pop the nanny regulators and go, "Oh, stop that!" And everyone will go, "Oh, it shouldn't have been like that. Oh no!" And it will put a big dent in the whole market.
It sounds like someone doesn't want to get into Ribbit. Have you heard about Ribbit? Ribbit is like all the rage right now.
Clem is just big into Ben tokens. There are Ben the BitBoy tokens. That's what's going on here.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm sure that's probably not true. I think it's a good point, and honestly, I'd love to talk more about meme coins, but let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin. I mean, it really is the flagship of all crypto after all. Nick, what do you think? So far, we've had two bummer assessments of Bitcoin's prospects. I bet you can say something more hopeful than that.
Not really. Hearing Clem, hearing Colleen, I'm more of a Bitcoin fundamentalist, more like Clem, in terms of shitcoins, altcoins, security coins. They all have their utility. They all have their purpose. It could be a casino. It could be a security. It could be anything that the market says it is. In terms of Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is always going to be one Bitcoin. The world market is in chaos. Somehow the world is managing to stay together. Right now, we saw a huge banking crisis. The dollar, people are starting to question its acceptance worldwide, which is something that I don't think we've seen before. So there's definitely something new there. In terms of the end of the summer, might be that Bitcoin's price goes up, might be that the dollar's price goes down. So those are two possible directions that we can see.
That's a good point.
And In terms of Clem, what he was saying about Ethereum being $80 for a transaction, Bitcoin collapsing because of ordinals. I'm a big fan, and I think that in terms of technology, what we're seeing is a need for maturity in the technology. So people are going onto Lightning Network. Binance recently announced that they're working on being able to do withdrawals and deposits with Lightning Network. So yes, there's pain. There's people who are going to lose a lot of money. There's people who are going to win a lot of money. I'm the theory that money is never lost. Money just changes hands. So we're going to see a lot of miners, for example, myself being a miner since 2014. It's been fantastic the last week for me. That means that people have been paying higher transaction fees. They can probably pay them, and that's why they paid them. So I think what we're going to be seeing more than a summer is maturity in the market and maturity and the technology behind it.
So you think maybe this will grab more attention to the Binance Smart Chain back to Pancake and all those kind of cheaper swaps?
Possibly. The market decides. People, for example, we saw the Tron interview where most of USDT is moving in Tron. I think the only reason why that happens is because of Ethereum's fees. It was ridiculous. Whatever you want. Before it went to proof of stake, the fees were ridiculous. Supposedly, Vitalik gave us a solution, which ended up not being a solution. And on a side note, going back to the miner side of it, there were miners that invested billions of dollars in mining Ethereum who went out of business, had to close. It's been rumored that they were going to go to proof of stake for years, but miners still invested billions of dollars. Ethereum changed the rule of the game, and they didn't solve the solution. They didn't solve the problem. So
Yeah.
So the thing is, I'm strong Bitcoin because, or I'm a Bitcoin fundamentalist because the rules don't really change. Tech just gets built on top of it, and it just keeps going.
I mean, I might kind of insert myself a little bit here. Apologies for that. But I personally am a firm believer into Bitcoin being like always being a star of value thing. People don't really buy Bitcoin to deal in it. People don't really pay for anything in Bitcoin because of the humongous fees and because of the atrocious speed of the blockchain. And if we're going to go on about crypto adoption, Bitcoin is going to be like the poster child of the crypto market, obviously, because everyone knows about it. Everyone has heard about it. People keep talking about it in the news and the press. However, I do not think that if we're talking mainstream crypto adoption, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. People are going to flock to something when it comes to, for example, moving money about like across the border, when we're talking about people getting salaries, when we're talking about people sending money to their families, so on and so forth, we're not going to be hearing about Bitcoin in that sense. And at that point, I do agree with what Justin just said on the interview, because people are going to be using, inevitably, people are going to be using something cheaper, something faster, and something easier to understand. And Ethereum, again, USDT on Ethereum, big thing. It was like the first thing to ever appear. It was the first USDT token to exist. But when I am getting my salary, I would prefer to get it in USDT TRC, because this is something that I can, for example, like, first of all, I can cash it out easily. Second of all, it doesn't take hours for my salary to arrive. I do make all of my money in crypto. And third of all, when I, for example, pay for a pair of sneakers in Farfetch, and I do it with crypto, I can see that my transaction confirmed in a matter of seconds instead of hours or days when it comes to Bitcoin, for example. I've seen transactions take days to confirm because the chain was overloaded. And now, like just a few weeks ago, I think we've seen the emergence of Bitcoin NFTs, which in turn overloaded the blockchain to hell and back. Again, proving that in the matter like of utility, not just store of value, being digital gold, so on and so forth, yada yada, Bitcoin is kind of crap at that. My sincere apologies to all the Bitcoin maxis watching this, but this is just the plain truth.
Well, let's
give some time to Huff to see.
Yeah, let's let Huff talk. I want to hear from Huff on this. So we're sharing around. I love that we have such great people, strong personalities, and lots of knowledge being dropped here. Lots of opinions. I'm always here for that personally, but I want to make sure everybody gets to speak. You know, how to move on to sort of a different way of framing it. You know, it seemed to me over the past couple of months that you know, traditional finance's losses should hypothetically be Bitcoin's gains, shouldn't they? I mean, isn't everything that that the Bitcoin white paper says about the weaknesses in traditional finance, you know, coming to pass? Isn't that why people are flocking to Bitcoin in the first place? And do you think it'll continue in that direction?
So we've seen elements of that this year, right? So I'll provide like a trader's perspective on Bitcoin and Bitcoin price action. Bitcoin went up in January. We had this nice move from like the lows at 16K up to like 20, 22, 23, and it took people by surprise. It was largely a short squeeze. It was timed together with the equity markets moving as well. And then what you had through the kind of end of February, early March was bank failure, and in particular Silicon Valley Bank and others. And Bitcoin's narrative had never been stronger than that weekend, because that weekend what you saw was this explosive move, and the Monday and Tuesday after, from Bitcoin going from 20K right through to 28K as this like alternative money system, alternative store of value, as an inflation hedge. You had Balaji come out and make his $1 million bet on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin needs a refresh narrative. And it already feels like the banking narrative and banking failure narrative is starting to exhaust a little bit. It's run what it has. Bitcoin's up 70% this year already. Let's not forget that. Your question is, this summer, can Bitcoin do another 70%, 100%, whatever? Let me provide some traders' perspectives on that. Crypto is a vacuum for excess global liquidity, which means when there is excess cash and excess liquidity in the system. Right now, the Fed are increasing rates, they are reducing their balance sheet, and you do not have that extra liquidity in the market. The second thing is volumes are light. You saw yesterday that Jump and Jane Street are moving away from providing market-making services on Binance and other venues, and that correlates with TVL. If you look at DeFi Llama, TVL on all blockchains is broadly flat this year, from like 40 billion to 45 billion. What does that picture tell you? It tells you people are leaving and off-ramping from crypto, and it tells you that there is no new money coming into the system. So when Pauline talks at the start of the call about meme coins and things, that's a manifestation of the fact that the people that are in it are now seeing crypto like a decentralized casino. The new money isn't coming in, and the catalyst that was there in 2017 and 2021, i.e. excess global liquidity, the Fed lowering rates and governments printing cash, is not there anymore. So who's the marginal buyer of crypto who's going to take us to that next level? You had some institutional bid over the days and weeks after the Silicon Valley Bank. Those people have bought spot, they've allocated whatever. But now the narrative is a bit exhausted. How are you going to, from a narrative perspective, really get Bitcoin from 28K right through to 40, 50, 60K this year, when you have the macro backdrop that you have? You've had the picture perfect environment in terms of bank failures, and yet you still can't get above these levels. The meme coin stuff is actually a bit dangerous, because what it does is it sucks liquidity out from the majors like Bitcoin and ETH as well. So I do agree with Clem that what it does is just discourage even more people and makes them leave the environment. It enriches a handful of influencers and KOLs and shillers and whatever. But as a trader, somebody who's looking at institutional flows, liquidity is really light. Market makers are pulling out of the space, and the regulatory onslaught is killing and choking fiat on-ramps into the space. So the marginal buyer isn't there. I don't know how we push from 28K to 40K. That said, if the market goes aggressively short, that's probably the best way to squeeze them and get that position higher.
China is your answer. If China invades Taiwan, you'll see 60,000 in about 10 minutes.
If you see de-dollarization, right? Like if you really see Balaji's bet play out and the dollar loses its sovereignty and its reserve status, then yeah, like Bitcoin in dollar terms is going to be 60K, 100K, whatever it might be. But you're trading the dollar, you're not trading Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people that are in this space don't really understand that they're trading the dollar when they're trading Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, so that suggests that economic disaster in other parts of the world, excessive economic or extreme economic uncertainty can be to the benefit of Bitcoin. I mean, do we agree with that assessment, Clem? Is that what you're saying with the
Yeah, I mean, without
example?
doubt, as I said, if China were to invade or even appear to need to be on the edge of doing that, then Bitcoin would go ballistic, because not only would everybody be buying it, so would the Chinese and the Taiwanese. There's a point I want to make from early on, just a quick one, and that people don't grasp Gresham's law, which is like what they teach you when you're 16 learning economics, which is bad money drives out good. Right, so Bitcoin is deflationary money, so it should be good money, and the same with Ethereum. So it gets driven out by bad money. Everybody goes towards inflationary money to actually use. That becomes the money you use, and you stash your good money. You put it in a pot and you bury it in your basement, like they used to do gold coins. So one of the mistakes, I believe, not Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's meant to be like that, but this push by Ethereum to be deflationary money, I think that's very negative in the long term. And deflationary money is very negative for crypto because it becomes stagnant. It gets stashed. And, like gold, there's plenty of gold out there, but it's all in vaults. It never gets used as money because people go, I'm not using that gold. No, have the copper. Have the diluted silver, have the paper for sure. And, people get Gresham's law, and people should think about that.
Yeah, what Clem's talking about is like the kind of M3 and money velocity and how it circulates and how that encourages adoption. And if you get this cornering of the supply of a deflationary asset, on top of the fact that Ethereum's moved to proof of stake, and you get these people who want to stake and will stake their tokens, then its use in what as money, as Clem said, it becomes diminished. So a bit of a tough one to get your head around, but I really agree with that view, Clem.
What do you think?
It's very interesting that the Fed is pulling back its, it pumped in a huge amount of money during the Silicon Valley Bank disaster, but it's pulled half of it back out again since then. And that's what's causing the market to go down. And that's probably what's causing Bitcoin to be a bit soft, as you've been saying.
Well, yeah. So people like to share this chart that the Federal Reserve are increasing their balance sheet, etc. They're not. What they're doing is offering an OTC line for treasuries. That money doesn't recirculate in the economy. All it does is take off the mark-to-market value risk on your US Treasury holdings. So it's a bit of a lazy argument to say, the Fed's printing more money, because the people that say that don't really know what they're talking about.
It's a very common argument, though. That's for sure.
It's misunderstood.
It hasn't been printing money for over a year.
Exactly.
18
People
months.
don't understand how quantitative easing works. It doesn't involve printing anything. It involves buying bonds.
Pauline, there was a lot of speculation during the bull market, particularly people who wanted to declare BTC some sort of safe haven. That doesn't seem like it's really held out, considering that it keeps tracking with the NASDAQ. But what are your opinions on that? I mean, go back to the original question I put to Huff. In theory, TradFi's loss should be Bitcoin's gain, hypothetically, but it doesn't seem to be working out like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, Justin, I would like to agree with Clem here because a lot of people who are in crypto, they do seem to think of Bitcoin as a safe haven, just like gold. It's called digital gold for a reason. That's why you have so many Bitcoins just sitting there, either like sitting in cold wallets that haven't been accessed in a lot of time. A lot of Bitcoin has been actually lost because a lot of people have have lost their private keys and is just going to sit there untouched. I think I looked it up not so long ago, about like 80% of the circulating supply of Bitcoin right now being either just stashed and not touched or straight up inaccessible because people have lost a lot of the Bitcoins that have been mined back in like 2010, 2011, 2012. And again, I am going to be the Bitcoin skeptic here because people tend to kind of misrepresent Bitcoin as like the supreme alternative to gold, which is going to rise as the banks collapse. But again, if we're talking like I'm going to look at this thing from a perspective of the little person, from a perspective of someone who is unbanked, or from the perspective of someone who is just making their money in crypto, who is working with crypto on a daily basis, or like on a weekly basis, so on and so forth. So I think that those people don't tend to think about Bitcoin. They don't tend to stack sats, or they don't tend to kind of pay a lot of attention to Bitcoin as something to invest into, because first of all, they don't have the finances to do that. They have just like their operational liquid funds, the ones that they pay rent with, the ones that they go to grocery store to shop with, so on and so forth. So basically, again, I think that a lot of the points of view, like a lot of the people who are in the space, have been in the space, Bitcoin maximalists, they tend to think of Bitcoin as this like supreme asset, as the ultimate asset. While doing that, those are usually from the more privileged backgrounds, those who have loose money to spend on investing. And I am talking here not about those people. I'm talking about people who are spending crypto, who are, making little investments into altcoins, to like hoping to gamble on them. They don't think about Bitcoin. They don't invest about Bitcoin because they don't need Bitcoin. They are going to look at something fresher. They're going to look at something perhaps more volatile. They're going to look into stablecoins. And for example, over a crypto wallet, which is a crypto neobank, we have a lot of people who are using it as your regular neobank. They don't deal in Bitcoin. Most of our volume is in stablecoins, because this is what people are going to pay attention to. Bitcoin doesn't exist in a vacuum, and decentralized finance does not exist in a vacuum. Fiat and crypto are always going to be connected as soon as fiat is still going to exist, as soon as traditional finance is still going to exist. So a lot of people are not going to have those wet dreams of, going rich on Bitcoin, being bullish on Bitcoin, because they're going to make like 5x off of their initial investment. They're not going to do that. Those people just want to make do with what they have, and they are going to be dealing in stable coins. So again, I am not bullish on Bitcoin. I'm just kind of like watching it from the sidelines. I'm not speculating on Bitcoin because I don't have the funds to do that. I have my salary. I spend it on daily necessities. I spend it on rent. And then I kind of set aside a certain amount of it, again, in stable coins, because when I use those funds as my financial pillow, or like savings, you name it, I am going to be looking at it from a fiat perspective. Crypto and like stable coins are just easier for me to store and easier for me to access. So again, even though this discussion started being about Bitcoin, I would just kind of like to offer a little bit of a different perspective of someone, like of a little person, of someone from a non-privileged background, someone who grew up poor, someone who is making money in crypto and not willing to bet on Bitcoin, either, pumping or dumping. Because again, I cannot afford that speculation. And not a lot of our clients, not a lot of everyone into crypto is not going to be willing to speculate on Bitcoin. I do not have enough liquid funds to to stash away hoping it's going to do 5x in like 5 years. I'm not going to do that. None of our users, I'm pretty sure, are not going to do that. I've worked for a crypto exchange service. It's called Change Now. I've worked there for 4 years, and most people were willing to deal either in Monero because it's impossible to track. And let's be real, people are always going to need something that's impossible to track. People are always going to need private coins and stable coins, because stables, even though we see that traditional finance is collapsing, that fiat is becoming more and more unreliable. But fiat is, like, in my opinion, again, don't quote me on that, please. Fiat is going to be unreliable because of banks crashing, not because of fiat as a concept being unreliable. Because again, DeFi and crypto and Web3 are still a relatively small industry, and it's going to take the industry quite a lot of time. It's going to take years and years more for it to kind of overpower fiat in terms of not being able or having the luxury of not, looking into fiat money before, not equating fiat and crypto. So this is kind of loops into what Clem has said. I think it was Clem. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your background.
Sorry, I kind of went into a wild tangent here.
Yeah,
I'm just very passionate about this topic. As
and thanks for sharing your background.
We'll do a Twitter Spaces on it because it deserves a lot more discussion, honestly. But we really appreciate your thoughts, Pauline.
Fiat's not going anywhere. Government will always be there, and they'll always print their own money.
I have a little bit of.
Will always accept it because they pay their taxes with it.
A little bit of input, or for a debate. I'm currently in Argentina, which has an inflation of 100% yearly. Fiat isn't an option. Salaries don't go up 100% yearly.
Right.
There are ways to hedge. For example, you could invest in, let's say, in the U.S., where we have a hypothetical 7 to 10% inflation. Salaries aren't going up 7 to 10%. So you could hedge.
So Nick, there's no shortage of Argentinian money, surely. That's the trouble, isn't it? There's too much of it.
Absolutely not. There's too much of it. And I live half my time in Argentina, half my time in the States usually, or Europe. We're seeing inflation worldwide, and salaries aren't going up at the same rate that inflation is going up, obviously. Going back to Pauline's thoughts, where people who are making fiat, what is their protection against this inflation? They can't buy T-bonds. They can't buy tools that people who have assets, who are privileged to buy those assets to maintain their.
There's not meant to be any protection against it. That's the whole point of inflation.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, I agree with Clem here. Again, when we're talking about the people that I've talked about here, right? We're not going to pretend that crypto is going to protect them from inflation. You buy Bitcoin, is going to go down 20% next week. All of your money is gone. You don't have anything to pay rent with.
In Argentina, if you have the same thing might happen.
It is a great point to end on, Nick, because honestly, that was part of the impetus for having this discussion. Talking to J-Rod, who also lives in Argentina, about the role that crypto plays in your life when you are dealing with a fiat currency, a local fiat that is not necessarily reliable in that regard. And I thank you so much, all of you, for bringing brilliant insights to this. We could speak about this for another hour, honestly, but we need to get Tron on here and move on to that next panel and talk about their global use case. Love to have you all on the show. Come on our Twitter Spaces. We'll talk about that after this. And thank you so much, Huff, Nick, Clem, and Pauline, for sharing your insights today. We really appreciate it.
Very well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Very good discussion.
All right, awesome.
That was amazing. We definitely need to make a Twitter space to continue that debate because, we are 8 minutes overdue of the previous panel, but I couldn't cut that conversation. It had to continue, and I wanted to listen all of the points of views. We're ready for the next panel now.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and bring him on. I'll just add him to the stream now.
And again, I want to say thanks to every speaker that came in today. It's amazing. This is the second episode of Crypto Unlocked, and it's such an honor having these amazing panels. And let's continue.
I absolutely agree. I never cease to be amazed by the number of brilliant people willing to come in and give us their time and their thoughts. It's always great. And we love the Tron team. Hi, guys. How are you? Feroz, thank you for helping us put this together. Why don't you just go ahead and start by introducing yourself, and then we'll go ahead and go through the panel.
Absolutely. Justin, J-Rod, thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here again. So my name is Feroz Lakhani. I'm the enterprise lead here at Tron DAO. I lead partnerships mostly in Web3 infrastructure.
Shane?
Hey, Justin, J-Rod, thanks very much for having us today. I'm really excited to be a part of this panel, and I'm the head of business development for Travella.com. We're an online travel agency that serves global clientele, accepting cryptocurrency and really bringing utility use cases to different types of crypto.
Okay, awesome. You know, we've heard a lot about Euclid in the comments throughout the entire show. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little, just a line about Euclid?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Justin. Hi, J-Rob. We love Tron team here too. Thanks for having me today. Super excited to chat with our fellow panelists. My name is Queenie from Euclid. We are an leading Web3 e-commerce platform that aims to bring the best shop-to-earn experience for the customers. We currently have the biggest shopping infrastructure in the space with over 120 million of products, including physical, digitals, and NFT products. We also offer the most comprehensive shipping services worldwide, and we also offer the flexible and convenient payment methods, especially the very special features of buy now, pay later in cryptocurrencies that allow the users to shop for millions of products in cryptocurrency in 3 installments without interest. Happy to be here. So we're excited to chat.
Wonderful. And Augustine, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Thanks, Jose. So my name is Augustine. I do partnerships with Feroz. He's my right-hand man. Also focus on the education initiatives at Tron. So working with universities, focusing on cutting-edge research, all things entailing that. So excited to be here. Got an exciting panel ahead of us. And Jason, conclude.
Yeah, I'm Jason Dukes. I'm content lead with Tron and do a lot of content, a little research, and a lot of research times too. And thankful, Justin and Jose, to be on.
I'm grateful that everyone's able to make it today. You know, honestly, a lot of this particular focus came out of speaking to Jose about, you know, the situation, how crypto is used very differently, you know, from an Argentinian point of view versus US. Then we started, I think it was Aiden, who actually one of our salespeople, pointed out to me that you know, that Tron is the biggest network for USDT. And you know, then I started watching videos about it, and I actually saw, without naming anybody in particular, I saw some videos made by US content creators where they just openly doubted that was true. And I thought, this is so dumb. Like, it's because, you know, if it's not happening in front of you doesn't mean it isn't real. And that's where it kind of ties in with the whole thing of like how very US centric US media can be, which is just a kind of an ongoing problem. And you can't get the whole picture of what crypto is doing globally by looking at Silicon Valley. Not everything happens in Sunnyvale after all. So, so Jason, I just kind of want to tell a story around this. Like, give us an example of, you know, well, first of all, how did Tron become the #1 network for USDT? And how does it dovetail in with Tron's mission overall?
So I started here about a year ago. And when I started, that's when I started looking really deep into Tron and seeing what the infrastructure looked like. And if you look at the history, Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, he spoke a little bit earlier with you, he started Tron as a blockchain to be the global settlement layer. Like, he wanted people to be able to make transactions across, you know, country lines globally. And USDT was one of the first stable coins to actually give people that power in a lot of underbanked, underprivileged countries where they weren't able to access the US dollar, which is the most powerful currency in the world. And so USDT, along with the Tron blockchain, was one of the first ways for them to actually access that without having to be able to go to a US bank or, you know, any type of infrastructure or a banking provider that wasn't available. So Tron, being one of the earliest EVM forks, was also one of the biggest global blockchains in Asia, in LATAM, in Africa. And so it's been 5 or 6 years where people in the US don't have a lot of visibility on Tron and what it's doing or what people are using it for. Whereas in other countries where they don't have as easy access to the US dollar, USDT is how they're using the US dollar across, across country lines. So just having an infrastructure for 5 or 6 years that's been resilient, that's been robust, that actually just lets people do what they need to do for little to no cost very fast is it's a very powerful thing to be able to offer. It sounds very simple and basic, but it's very difficult to pull off successfully. And it's something that Tron has been really good at. And so it's kind of positioned itself as the global settlement layer, literally what it was designed to be. And that's what gives USDT that mobility on the Tron blockchain and gives it the ability to grow as quickly and as wide as it has.
And Augustine, since you and Feroz are partners on doing the enterprise side of things, how does this dovetail in with Tron's mission? At inception, Tron was setting out to be a media-based blockchain. How have things grown and evolved since the evolution of the DAO and so forth?
Yeah, great question. So I guess a metaphor to illustrate the macro picture is I view blockchains like an operating system, right? For example, the smartphone world, you have the iOS operating system. If you use Google, you have the Android OS. And blockchains are, in some sense, a similar ecosystem where if you want to build an application within the operating system, you got to follow the protocols. And once you publish your app to production, it's in that OS. So Tron in the beginning had more of a focused approach, like I said, for media. But then once the ecosystem starts evolving, it's like, okay, why stop here and not guardrail ourselves? So more apps and platforms started to rise and join the operating system, quote unquote. So that's kind of what Feroz and I do on a day-to-day basis, is where we meet with dApps. Maybe they're on existing EVM chains, or if they're starting off and want to get into the TVM, which is a virtual machine, we essentially coordinate that. We act as kind of project managers, hear them out, and if it's aligned with strategy, we help them facilitate and get them to production. And it's good to see from a holistic viewpoint because there's so many dApps, right? You got DeFi, you got AI now, you have media. So all in all, it's an exciting space to be, and working on L1, it's really good to get an Eagles POV. So it's great to see that there's so many things, and every day is something new.
Right. I want to take this question over to Jason. Yeah, too many projects, if you really just get into the nitty gritty of the altcoins that are out there, and even some of the other kind of follow on layer ones for that matter. Too often it feels like we're looking at dApps that are projects looking for a need. So let's talk about real nitty gritty, rubber meets the road, daily use cases. I know that you've used TRX and USDT in travel, but also you do a lot of writing for Tron. Where are the places where you've seen people using it to buy the proverbial loaf of bread, people using it in a real, as a currency or as a store of value, something that helps their lives?
Yeah, it's a great question, Justin. I mean, I think the short answer is anywhere someone, whether they're in an upper class, middle class, or lower class situation, wants to do something with their money, right? I think a lot of people don't know how to make money with money. I know I wasn't taught that. I grew up in the hood in New Orleans, but I was never taught that until I was in my 30s. I think for the upper class and upper middle class, you see stories of decentralized finance and the aspects of the commerce that occurs on Tron and with Tron, particularly with the stable coins. You see it as a movement of money, as a store of value, as a way to do savings, as a way to pay payments, as a way to pay salaries. Those are real things that happen, right? I think as you move into more the lower middle and the lower class, and I'm not being ugly when I categorize it that way. I'm just giving that from a category standpoint to say, from that standpoint, we almost move similar to what Pauline was saying on the last panel. We almost move out of thinking of crypto as just an investment and truly understanding that it's a currency, right? That truly understanding that it is intended when it was created, intended to be a peer-to-peer exchange and a decentralized finance concept. And so so how is that happening, right? For someone like me, my daughter has a volleyball tournament. I had TRX. I use one of my crypto debit cards to pay for our travel, to pay for food, to pay for the tickets into the tournament. I've done that multiple times. I've even paid our mortgage with crypto, right? And now it's funny to me, especially my kids. They teach me about it because I'll whisper to them if I'm at a coffee shop and paying with crypto. We just bought that latte with crypto, right? Like I think people need to understand that that's truly what crypto is. It's currency. And so from that standpoint, whether it's what I've done or someone in more of an upper class standpoint, it's the movement of money. And someone said it last panel, and this is the last I'll say on it, like with Bitcoin, people talk about it. Lightning Labs obviously has made it, given it the ability to move a lot faster, but you're seeing it in countries where a currency is needed that's usable and accessible. You're seeing Tron and Bitcoin and other layer ones that have provided a solution for that being used by the everyday person in everyday ways, and it's being accepted more and more.
Yeah, I do want to chime in on that point. So we go to a lot of conferences, obviously, and talk to a ton of people, and that really exposes us to the global user base, what we don't normally see here in the US, right? When Jason mentions paying for coffee or paying for his mortgage with crypto, it seems more like a novelty to us because, oh, look, it's cool that I can do that, but I don't necessarily need to. Whereas we've spoken with people from Argentina, from Africa, from literally all over the world that use it for payroll, like whether they get paid in it or they own a company and they provide for 10, 15, 20 people and they're paying all of them in USDT because, in Argentina, there's we all know the inflation rate, over 100, 200% of the native currency. Being paid in USDT is a godsend to know that you have something at least, more stable than any currency in your local area. It gives you the ability to have a little more confidence in what you're able to do and how far your money is going to take you.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that would be so difficult. That'd be so difficult to deal with on a local basis, and that's many people deal with it daily. As J-Rod runs into that too. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, not even on a local level, but international level as well. So being in an online travel agency, like how do you typically pay for travel? Well, if you go online, you're able to access it with access to credit. Otherwise, you're going to have to go and pay an agency to go and do it, and they can be often unreliable in third world countries. So now it opens up the world. If you're able to go online and use your cryptocurrency, now you're able to fly and stay across the world. Yeah, so it's really giving more access to people globally than just on a local level.
Yeah, we were asked in comments here that they're wondering how USDT and Tron, how it's all tying into your ecosystem. They're asked if you could, but let's pose that to both of you. How is that connection working? I imagine you're also dealing with since you have a global audience, with the translation between different fiat currencies and handling it in that way. Just walk me through how it's tying into the Tron ecosystem overall. I imagine through the use of USDT. We'll start with Shane on that one, and then go over to Keeney.
Yeah, I mean, all of our inventory is going to be based like our supplier base is going to be US dollar. So we can have the conversion rate back to any sort of fiat or any sort of cryptocurrency, because we accept over 90 different types of crypto. Tron is a heavy player and we work really, really closely with the Tron ecosystem. We've been accepting TRX, USDT on the Tron network, and USDD for quite some time. And we run different campaigns with their community, and we accept their tokens. So we really want to be able to enable choice for the off ramp when you're actually holding the token. USDT, like the TRC20, has definitely it's definitely heavily utilized, just based on the fact that the transaction cost is just $1 when you're making any sort of transaction. So it when you're trying to limit the overall fees for offloading to real world items, then it does become quite favorable.
Yeah, and if I can jump in, I'd add that exchange level. So Tether USDT, it can exist in many chains, right? In the US, I've used more centralized exchanges. The Tether standard is going to be an ERC20, so it's going to be on the Ethereum mainnet. However, across the world where exchanges operate a bit differently, most of the Tether is TRC standards. So the fact that the beginning pipeline where fiat is being converted into crypto, in this case, it's still a stablecoin, it's happening at the TRC standard. That's where it allows like the floodgates to be open at a macro scale, where it's the conversion level. And then once it's on that chain or that ecosystem, it allows for more fluidity. So just wanted to add that point, because when I learned that, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's where the pipeline is.
Let me take the question to Kine as well. Go ahead and describe how we are, how essentially Tron and USDT. I mean, is it a matter of you're transacting essentially in dollars using Tron, and you're based on the Tron network? But it's very exciting. I mean, honestly, I've been waiting for something like an effective e-commerce platform that's able to handle crypto. I mean, honestly, how many years ago was it, Feroz? I mean, for anyone who's been in the space, I think it was like 5-7 years ago when the Bitcoin Miami conference couldn't accept Bitcoin, for example, and they still talk about that to this day. It's been a problem. It's the thing that people outside the Web3 space can kick us around a little bit about, and it's true. It's embarrassing. So, tell me about how the transactions work and how people are able to use their crypto as an actual currency.
Yeah, sure. So, I totally agree with your point. So when we started first in 2016, so we are inspired to create an e-commerce platform that accepts cryptocurrency too. So talking about the relationship between Uquid and USDT on TRC20. So as Justin mentioned earlier on, crypto provide capabilities for unbanked people, the people that does not access to the financial services. And since USDT maintains a value with the US dollar, which provide a stability in transactions without the risks, worry about their value in cryptocurrency, that makes it a reliable option for Uquid users and cryptocurrency users as a whole to transact with, knowing that the value of their purchase on the e-commerce platforms like us remain consistent. So this is particularly important for an e-commerce platform like Uquid, where our price similar to Travala.com display in USD. Users can make purchases in USDT without the fear of significant fluctuations in order value. On the user side, they can easily purchase a lot of daily products, naming like clothing, beauty, and health, electronic devices with a best price and exclusive deal with cryptocurrency and USDT. This product range from physical products to digital products like game cards, gift cards, mobile top-up, bill payments. So on the user standpoint, the USDT on TRC20 can help to extend the customer base and increase the adoptions of cryptocurrency as the means of payment for everyday purchases. And on Uquid side, we also have a lot of benefits while accepting USDT on TRC20 as the payment method, right? So as Tron team mentioned before, there are also few of benefits for merchants as well. For example, high liquidity and fast transaction speed. One of the main benefits of TRC20 USDT is its high liquidity, which refers to how easy it is to buy and sell assets, then use it as a payment method for the products and services like the one at Uquid. And additionally, TRC20 USDT also offer the fast transaction speeds, which means that it can be quickly transferred. The user can quickly transfer the USDT into the user's wallet on Uquid and make the purchase promptly. And secondly, it also compatible with a lot of exchanges and wallets. So it means that users can be more convenient to use, especially for buying products for daily life. Another benefits of USDT on Tron network is its efficiency in terms of its use of blockchain resources. The TRC20 standards is designed to be more efficient other than other blockchain networks, requiring fewer resources to process transactions, especially for us, and store the data on the blockchain. This can be beneficial for overall and scalability of Tron network. So overall, I think the integration of USDT and TRX on TRC20 allows Uquid to cater customer globally and facilitate cross-border transaction in a frictionless way.
And just to confirm, I think we already know the answer, but somebody in the comments is asking, you can use USDT directly to transact on your platform, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Uquid is currently support USDT on most blockchain networks, like 11 or 12 change.
You know, do you have any impression? I mean, to put you on the spot, but I'm interested. Do you have any impression of what your most popular category of sales is? What do people come look at? Are people buying pens with crypto? Or are they buying I don't know, golden statuettes? I have no idea. What are people buying with crypto primarily?
Yeah, definitely happy to share that. So we have our website, digital shop and physical shop. And also NFT marketplace. And we also listed our Uquid shop into many third-party platforms like Binance, Gate.io, Ledger, and Crypto.com. So that's why we can accumulate the data from those third-party platforms and also our website. So based on our experience, a lot of cryptocurrency users, they love to buy digital products, naming game cards, gift cards. They love to perform services like mobile top-up, bill payments, and especially as our panel today is about crypto off-ramp, so they would love to purchase the prepaid cards like payment cards, for example, American Express, prepaid Visa cards, MasterCards, using the cryptocurrency payment option that we offer.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I want to pose, I don't want, without going on too much of a side journey, I want to pose the same question to you, Shane. Is it more business travel? Is it more domestic? Is it more pleasure travel? What's your sense of the categories where people are primarily using travel to transact in crypto?
Yeah, so we started retail back in 2017. We've tokenized our own loyalty and rewards points as well. So you get a give back on each one of your purchases in our own cryptocurrency. I think the main way that we actually benefit the Tron network, and if you go back to Pauline's statement before, or Pauline's statement before that, she's getting paid in cryptocurrency. There are a lot of teams that are paying out in crypto now, and USDT, something that's tied to the US dollar, is actually, it's quite favorable because you're not really pegging it to Bitcoin at this point. You're pegging it to the US dollar. So when you look at the statistics on our website, the average purchase is about 3 times the size of the traditional online travel agency, which can kind of prove to you that there's more remote workers, there's more people traveling around right now using crypto, and actually at an extended stay. Like I'm personally a nomad, and I do stay in places for a week, a month, whatever that may be, and I kind of play into that category. So if you actually look at if you see the amount of people transacting on the different networks, Tron is huge for that, because a lot of people are getting paid in stablecoins. So now they actually have an outlet to go and use a service like Travala to be able to go and do it. Now, we we started in 2017, and it was a retail focus at that point, but we've really started building into the business category as well. We do have an agency, and we also have businesses booking travel on platform as well. So that's definitely growing, especially with the amount of tokens and the amount of partners that we've been able to build within the Travala ecosystem. So that's definitely building, but I guess our bread and butter is retail.
Right. Okay.
That's
yeah.
I just want to ask a quick, well, not ask a question, but make a quick point. Recently, being in the crypto sphere in the ecosystem, I've met a lot more people that live nomadic lifestyles that I hadn't really ran into quite as much in my previous life. And so you make a really interesting point of there are larger purchases. These are approximately 3 times the size of what people purchase through traditional travel agencies and sites. They're purchasing through Travala. And so I wonder if having such a niche business of having a travel agency that specifically accepts crypto, I wonder if that really brings in the more people that live a more nomadic lifestyle, that live a borderless lifestyle, that want to travel, go different places, work remotely, and don't have to worry about, will my credit or debit card or the fiat cash that I'm carrying work wherever I'm going. I can not only travel with it, but I can use this crypto, like we've talked about, all over the world in a lot of different ways. So I wonder if you really attract that type of personality of, I want to live this borderless lifestyle. I do like the concept of crypto and this decentralized currency because I live this sort of decentralized life of, I want to be able to go anywhere and do anything. So I think that's an interesting topic, and I don't think we've ever really had that conversation, Shane, but I think that's a cool point.
Yeah, and what, we're definitely building on top of that as well, because we cater with flights, accommodation, mainly in hotels, and then activities. We're leaving out a segment of remote workers, because if a remote worker is looking for something other than a hotel, you don't want to be staying in a week getting closed into the walls, but it's like 40 square meters or less, and you may actually want a home. So we're going to actually integrate the short-term home rentals, which is really going to cater to that nomadic experience, so that you're actually going to be able to be closer to life, essentially, and also having your own place to eat and cook and whatever that may be. So we'll be tying that in later this year.
With all the travel influencers and lifestyle influencers that are out there right now, you've got people living in vans or building log cabins to live out in the middle of nowhere, doing all these other stunts. Tron should have somebody, go live completely on crypto transactions for the next year. I think that would be a fascinating little travel log.
Great campaign.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. And
if
I can add on too.
Here, pros.
I'll pitch myself for that. I'm going.
That is good marketing right there. If I can quickly add on to this, it's fascinating from a macro standpoint that what is happening is it's basically a wallet to wallet interaction. And this is the exciting thing about crypto, is that the middlemen are being cut off. And in the case with Travala, it's like, I can get a service if I have the cryptocurrency. I don't have to worry about fiat conversion to that country that I migrate to or whatever it is. If more global adoption in the case of like merchants and payments being facilitated, just wallet to wallet, it can work. And this allows for a lot more economic mobility that could be a pain point for a lot of remote workers or travelers, because once you go to another country, you got to abide to those financial rules. So if it's true wallet to wallet, that's going to be an interesting macro angle too.
Well, do you guys have information? Yes, please, Shane.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with the wallet to wallet as well. So whether it be custodial or non-custodial, we're generating a QR code that you can transfer crypto over and make a payment in. But with infrastructure getting built like Wallet Connect, that connects the Web3 experience to Web2, to commercial outlets. Now you no longer actually have to go and drag and drop an address code or run the risk of sending the wrong transaction, like many people have done before. Me and my fat thumbs have done that before. And when you can actually enable that and sign for a transaction, that's one thing. That makes the customer experience a whole lot better. And from a user experience perspective, the product team is going to be really happy about that, because less times that you navigate away from a web page, the better it's going to be for the conversion. But number two is with the rise of things like NFTs. Now, an NFT isn't actually just a piece of artwork, right? Using the actual technology for authenticity and digital representation of your own data is going to be really helpful in the future. So things like loyalty and rewards points. Okay, so how many people are Marriott Bonvoy point holders, and then also Hilton point holders? So if you where do you hold all that data? Now, if you're actually going to be in charge of your own data in one central point, then you're holding it in one place. You have access to your own data, and people have to actually incentivize and pay you to be able to release that. So something we're going to be rolling out later this year, where we've rolled out our test pilot and our beta, is the travel passport, the travel profile, where each one of your flights, hotel bookings, and activities is going to be represented by a digital stamp. So it's a digital authenticator of your travel experience. And you can just with the technology itself, you can actually consider what you're going to be able to do down the road if you're going to be in control of your own data. That's really powerful for an individual, and also the other side, when you actually have the data holders, people are going to be looking from the outside, being like, I want that, and I'm going to pay you for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do a final question from Jose, because we're going to have to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes or so. The whole show's over in 9 minutes. So go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, I'm saying that we're clearly speaking about all the benefits that the Tron network brings for traveling, for people who live abroad to send money to their own families, avoiding super high remittance fees. So do you have information regarding on which regions of the world the Tron network has more adoption, where you have still more work to be done, more communication, more education? I would like to know a bit regarding the adoption and the difference between regions of the world.
I can chime in here. So definitely in the APAC region, since the founding team is APAC centric, that gave the early market share, especially in crypto, right? So when Tron launched was 2017, crypto was novel, even in the Western markets, but even more in the APAC region. So Justin was an early player. So as we know, especially in this industry, being an early player is a very vital move for market share. So within there, it allowed for a lot of crypto movement, and then it sprinkled out to we've seen a lot LATAM and more like developing countries where they're sensitive to transaction fees. And since Tron was optimized for low transaction fees, it's the countries and regions that are doing micropayments, and that definitely like in the APEX side. And Quinn has some insight probably from her side, so love to hear specifically from True Merchant side.
Yeah, sure. I think the perspective of Tron become popularity in APAC region is absolutely 100% correct. But as a merchant, we do see a movement here, because of our customer base. We do see a lot of customer coming from EEA region, LATAM region, and we do see a movement here of people using TRX or USDT as the payment method on Tron network. And especially, right, so a little bit add on to the previous comment on the I do see cryptocurrency here, especially Tron network, that allow people to live in the lifestyle that Feroz mentioned before, that borderless. So for example, today I can be living in Southeast Asia, but tomorrow when I move to UK or EEA region, I can actually use cryptocurrency in general and USDT in specific to shop for example, Deliveroo gift card and get the food delivery to my door. and also watch movie by the eSIM without like going to the store and paying for the physical SIM card. So that is a clear movement here of USDT that allow the adoption of having cryptocurrency as the payment for daily products.
Great.
Yeah, so I do want to just
Queen.
touch on, yeah,
of course.
So Augustine mentioned, APAC was definitely where it started and where most of the early growth happened, and it still has a lot of action today. But we have made a push in the LATAM region, in the Middle East, Northern Africa. And then, of course, our team, Jason, Augustine, and myself, work mainly in the US, like in the Western Hemisphere. So I think this is where we really had the biggest opportunity. And our focus has been to gain as much exposure and visibility on what we're doing as a DAO globally, but also what we're doing here in the States, like in the Western Hemisphere, because that's been a quieter part of the Tron history. And so I think that's where we have the most opportunity.
Yeah, I have to say, please, Jason. Proceed.
I was just going to add one statement to that. The word that keeps coming to mind in everything that we're saying is empowering, right? Like that's the true global crypto use case, is a way to empower someone regardless of their geography, regardless of their background, regardless of their circumstance. And I think, as whether it's in the US or South America or Europe or wherever it is that the various market share will grow over the coming years for Tron, I think what's important to note is that I think our biggest hope, right, is that it will keep empowering more and more people to be able to engage in commerce and community, because that's what made the internet so powerful. Is it took things, it allowed people to begin to engage in commerce and community in a way that they never had. Blockchain technology is taking it into that next iteration.
100%. On my personal background, I always use USDT TRC20, and with the recent meme coin frenzy, I made some trades on Uniswap, and paying those fees is something I can't understand yet. So I think that's 100% one of the big values and one of the most mainstream networks solving actually the people's life. So as we're reaching the end of this panel, again, I want to thank everyone who joined, amazing speakers. Is there any updates that we're waiting for, any announcements, future events, something you would like to share with us?
Promos, we've been asked about promos the whole time in comments. So
I will say one pretty big thing that I'm excited about. So we were adopted as the blockchain infrastructure for the Commonwealth of Dominica last year. We've also got St. Martin using our tokens as currency within the country. And we have other countries that we've been working very closely with to also try to get as much infrastructure adoption and token adoption as possible. And I think that's going to go a long way in terms of global adoption, is working with local governments and working with regulators and working with everybody that's trying to make sure the space continues to move forward and that we're not kneecapping it. And I think that's a really big push forward on our front. And that's something that I'm really excited about coming in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also do want to add a little bit on the promo since you asked.
We've been asked the whole time. So you either have a dedicated audience or a really good marketing person asking that question. Go ahead and tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, so please stay tuned because the promo is coming very soon on Tron and Uquid, Twitter and social media channels today, right after this AMA for the Mother's Day. It's going to be a big promotion for physical products, especially for moms. And also we are working closely with Tron team in order to provide the shop to earn experience for the users, which means whoever shop with TRX or USDT on TRC20 will get rewards on every purchase. Of course, promotion is coming up, so please follow us, Tron Uquid, and in social media, and we have a lot of exciting things to share.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear more about it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying thanks. Yes.
Yeah, last thing is just follow along with Travala.com on Twitter. We're constantly running different campaigns and promotions we've got a bunch of announcements that are upcoming as well. Won't be able to release them on this call, but yeah, stay tuned in there, and you'll be able to reap the benefits of travel.
Some mothers with small children want to get away from their small children for Mother's Day, which is reasonable. All right, guys, it's been awesome having you here. It's been great to learn more about this project. We're going to follow up with this. I'd love to talk more about it in Twitter Spaces as well. You know, I am always grateful not only for all of you, our home audience, but for all the people that are willing to come and share with us the excellent work that they are doing in the Web3 space. You are all part of our positive participants in our ecosystem, and we appreciate your contributions. Thank you, Feroz, for helping putting us together. Thank you, Jason, Augustine, Shane, Kene. You've been fantastic, and there is so much interest in Upquid. You let us know. We'll go and talk about it a little bit more. Love the video format, but we actually have more time to talk about things when we do the spaces sometimes too. So coming up on Thursday, by the way, we have one at 12 noon, and then we'll probably do one that wraps up at least one of the panels today, like this next Tuesday. So look for that. Follow me on Twitter and look for that on Twitter. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Feroz, Augustine, Jason, Shane, today. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jose.
Well, amazing. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care. That was amazing. You know, like I think that we I like that we're refining the show a little bit, and we got to dig a little deeper, I think, this time in our main panel. So I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah. If there was any doubt that I'm in Argentina, here I have the proof. My Argentinian mate.
Right.
Maybe you saw me sipping a bit. It's my infusion. You know, I'm fasting since Sunday, so had to take my infusions. But what a wonderful panel. Amazing second episode for Crypto Unlocked. I would be thrilled of seeing every speaker at our New York real in-life event.
Yeah.
Also, I'm so excited for the recap. I think there's still like a debate from Pauline and Nick to see each other's perspectives. Yeah, I really want to see. I'm looking forward to listen to that debate. And well, any final remarks, Justin, that you would like to share with us?
Oh man, I honestly, we had so many great panelists. I think all of our panels could arguably have been 3-hour panels, and I personally would have learned from them. And that's one of the things I use to consider whether it's good content for the audience or not. You know, definitely. And we can have Clem and Pauline on any show to probably like we could get the two of them arguing about anything, which would be fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. My Twitter is Safdie Jose. You have it here right next. Then Justin's Twitter is Sensible, one of the best tags that I ever seen. Make sure to
I've been on for 17 years. I'm super old. That's why it's a short one.
I'm sure Elon is happy with you. Make sure to smash the like button, share, subscribe to Benzinga. We have all day long live events, day trading and real estate, lots of investments, talks, different debates, super rich channel to follow. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm so grateful for all of the audience who tuned in today. Justin, it's wonderful hosting this event with you. You're such an amazing partner. I'm so grateful for this today. I have nothing more to say than thank you.
J-Rod, as always, there's nobody I'd rather co-host with. And everyone, you want to see more of our shenanigans and us having great guests. Actually, we've got a killer spaces tomorrow because we're doing Metacans. So like look for that. That's going to be super cool with a whole bunch of Web3 filmmakers. That's at 12 noon EDT. But J-Rod's right. We are broadcasting all day on this channel. So look for us everywhere. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter and you'll see what we're up to. And thank you so much, J-Rod. You did an amazing job as well. And thank you everyone who came on today. Really, really pleased with the content. And we're going to come back to you with another great project next month. So we'll let you know about that soon. All right.
100%.
Peace, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.